So got
Okay, خلاص.
Salam
Yeah.
alaikum.
Salam.
Salam alaikum. Not like Moji.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
So, we are very, very, very honored to have you on with us today, Abdelwahab. And I think we've got a great series coming up in terms of the dash of motivation. And so before we kind of introduce what we plan on doing together in this series, could we just all start by introducing ourselves, giving a little bit about a little bit of background, and seeing as today's session is on sort of personal motivation, maybe tell us about one thing doing that might sit outside the realm of your sort of day to day, and what your personal motivation about that is. So, Abdulwahab, do you want to kick us off?
Mohammed, I just lost you for a second. I think your voice went out. Just if you don't mind, maybe just asking that one more question one more time. That'd be awesome, brother.
Sure. Yeah. So I just said, before we go ahead and jump into what the next few sort of podcasts in the series contain, if we just talk about our personal motivation, because that's what this session is on. So give a little introduction to yourself, and then one thing you, I guess, in outside of your day-to-day life, and what your motivation for doing that is. So just a quick
Awesome.
Intro, 1 or 2 minute intro.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, you guys, for actually having me. It's definitely a pleasure. My name is Abdelwahab Sarraj. I am a results coach. I'm a CEO and founder of Our Coaching. Background goes a little bit about 13, 14 years where studied pre-med, I did economics, and I also did psychology. I wanted to be a doctor, as every Sudanese kid in my generation, and then took a route into economics, started studying a little bit about business and numbers, and all of a sudden took some psychology classes, and I fell in love with it, to be honest with you. So since then, I started working for a company as an in-home therapist. We're doing some work with kids in their own home. 2 years into it, I asked myself that question where I'm grinding, I'm working so hard, I'm doing all these different things, but someone else is getting the bigger cut from my pie. Yeah. So I asked myself the question is like, well, why? What does this person have that I don't, that's preventing me from reaching that potential? So I literally went to yahoo.com and asked myself how to start a business. And 6 months later, with a partner, jumped in. We started a mental health agency where we provided therapy for adolescent and youth and parents ages, I think, 4 all the way to 65. But that niche was multicultural, and we did it actually in their homes just to make it a lot more comfortable for them. Alhamdulillah, 7 years into business, we grew the business into, I think we probably average like revenue from an annual base, we're probably making about $30 to $40 million. We had about 150 staff, 6 different locations all over the state. Alhamdulillah, it was great phase of my life. But then I asked myself, to be honest with you, I think about 3 years ago, I asked myself a question as far as what is my purpose, and then I know Mike and Nandur earlier, they were talking about that a little bit. And I was actually, challenged by that. I reached a point where a peak where, I had the status, I had the job, I had the power, if you want to say it, success if I wanted. But at some point there was something missing, to be honest with you. So I took a spiritual journey to Mecca. I did a quick Umrah. I came back for it. Alhamdulillah, 3 months later, I went for Hajj, and then came back later with the clear vision that into becoming a lot more purposeful in life than anything else, and just follow that passion. And I think my passion was into service. I wanted to be in service, and I wanted to impact. I didn't want that. I wanted just to work from be the back end kind of guy. Make my impact, work with one person at a time, and that's it. Like if I'm able to impact one person, one day, one conversation, so they're able to take what I tell them and change their life positively, that's it. That's my purpose in life. So once the minute I tie in purpose into dream and do what I do in life, burn the boat, if they say, quit my corporate job or my job, and started Our Coaching quit on a Friday, started Our Coaching on a Saturday. Alhamdulillah, I've been in the business for about 2.5 years now. Currently rated one of the top 2 coaches actually in the whole entire Northern Virginia, if you want to call it. We have clients in about 5 continents and 17 different countries. So, and now we started new initiatives where we're taking young individuals that want to take the same route, take them, mentor them, give them the tool that they want so they can start their own things. And yeah, that's my journey. Why am I motivated on a daily basis? I think I tied that up. I mean, for me, it's bigger than me. So for me, every day that I feel like I want to sleep that extra hour, that 15 minutes, I always remember my purpose, and I always just get up because it's literally bigger than me. You know, it's the impact, and if I'm not able to go out there and deliver, I'm failing everyone that I'm doing for. So that's my daily motivation, to be honest with you.
Beautiful. Yeah.
That's amazing, man.
Wow, man. Yeah, that's
inspiring. Story. And don't get distracted if you see me looking away. I'm scribbling down a lot of notes. And I've got at least 5 or 6 different questions to ask you already. But let me make sure we introduce the rest of the panel. So Tabarak, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I'll make it brief because I introduced myself last panel. Generally a student studying health policy, graduating next week, inshallah. And what motivates me is the sense of if I could elevate or remove any pain that's in this world. I can't say that I'm going to remove all the pain in this world, but if I could remove the ounce of pain on one person and I could do that, I will. And that's kind of what motivates me into anything that I do. If I could say yes, why say no? So what I do outside of my day-to-day life, I love to take photos. I love to hang out. I love coffee shops, just vibing with friends. I also vlog on the side too now.
Yeah, you don't need to be humble, Tabarak. We know you've got about 5 or 6 side projects going on.
Yeah, man, spill it out.
Oh no. I want to hear from you all.
Yeah. Okay, Mundo, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, sure thing. Thank you, Mohammed. And Abdelwahab, what you said is just really, really inspiring. So a bit about me, on a kind of professional level, I come from a background in civil engineering. I did my undergrad and graduating in 2014. I did a postgrad graduating in 2017. And since then, I've been working for an engineering consultancy called ACOM. So yeah, the purpose of going into civil engineering came from an experience in Sudan. Just literally made me realize that I wanted to be a part of something that was as well bigger than me, a profession where I could give back in many different shapes and forms. And just having been working in the kind of corporate corporate lifestyle for about 5 years or so, I've switched from the technical side of engineering to the management side. And that's been it's been an experience which has made me really passionate about management itself, and something which I'm trying to pursue at a later stage, inshallah. So that's something, and with the intention that I can, in some shape or form, give back through being a part of effective management and integrated design. In terms of what I do on a kind of day-to-day, out of basis, out of work kind of norm. I'm someone that really loves to read, very big on personal development, so reading books on that. I have a lot of favorite authors, Robert Kiyosaki being one of them, and at the same time connect with like-minded people such as yourselves, and I just find that everyone's story somehow plays a part in inspiring your story and inspiring your journey of others. So yeah, that's what I love to do: connect and have conversations which spark similar interests. That's awesome.
That's beautiful.
Amazing. And Ihab the beast, Ihab the butcher.
Yeah. Oh. Had to drop down the line. All right.
I think you made a mistake there.
Let's
Tabarak. The introduction, OG.
Tabarak, can you redact that from the record? Yeah.
I'll edit it afterwards.
Assalamu alaikum. It's so inspiring just being around you guys. Like I said, mashallah, everybody has a different path and they're really excelling in everything they do. So, I'm very humbled to be among everybody. So, yeah, I'm Ihab Salah Al Tayyib. I go by the Tayyib or the Fresh Prince of Umdurman, you know. Yes, sir. So I've actually, a lot of people don't know this. I'm a construction engineer, civil engineer, major, still in school, been in school since like 2012. Put that on the record too. But yeah, I'm a construction engineering major. I actually came to the States on the basketball scholarship, so I'm pursuing a professional basketball career. Where I'm getting my school paid for and, you know, getting my degree at the same time. I think these are my main two hustles. As of recently, I've developed a lot of sense of activism. So I've been doing that pretty much full time, you know, but I'm not getting paid for it, but hopefully soon. So yeah, I think that pretty much sums up what I do in a sense. And you know, I'm a construction engineer, basketball player, and activist. I think my motivation and my drive has stemmed when I was really young, and I think it's very related to my purpose, you know, and where I'm living. And I think, you know, not a lot of people get the opportunity to find their purpose at a very early age. I think I was blessed with that. And ever since I developed that sense of purpose, I've dedicated anything that I do, even the new things that come out towards that purpose. And that's, you know, giving back. And when you give back, you know, it's a bigger picture, right? You start with your small family, start with your community, your country, and then, you know, all the way to the 7 billion people in the world. So whatever extent you can actually start inspiring people, you know, around you, you should go for it. So, you know, I try to really do it through, you know, as of recent, my social media and activism, really focus on doing it sports-wise with basketball. You know, I'm a product of a thing called Impact Sports, which is now in Sudan as well. But it's a basketball academy. My coach, Luke Rashad, actually helped me start playing basketball when I was in Dubai. So actually through that, we've helped a lot of people or a lot of kids from Sudan get full-time scholarships and pursue their dream of playing basketball and getting a full education in the States. So that's something that I really want to tap into, you know, youth development, youth empowerment through sports, you know, and, you know, just see how far I can take it. But at the same time, pursue my professional career and make a name for myself to be able to do so. So, yep, a little bit about me. So, but yeah, definitely very humble to be here.
Oh,
amazing.
So many
mashallah,
inspiring
you know.
people here. Wow.
So many inspiring,
Yeah.
mashallah. We shouldn't call this a dash. It's not a dash of motivation. It's hella motivation.
Yeah.
Hey.
Pretty close to motivation.
There's a tradition here. There's a tradition in this panel. Before we go farther, we need to do a dash of motivation.
Oh God!
Together.
There we go.
On 3.
Together.
There we go. That's awesome.
And just to complete the you know, the introductions, Hamad Jaffer, based in Reading in the UK and work in London. Been working as a civil engineer for a few years now, and on the side do a little bit of poetry, a bit of photography, and something that I started a while ago and have now come more back into is sort of, you know, podcasting. And this is why I'm here, I guess, as the host. It's something I enjoy doing.
It's great as well.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. But the reason why I enjoy it so much is because of the people, and that's something that I've seen as a really consistent theme in you know, what everyone is saying. It's always the people. It's connecting to each other. It's trying to understand, you know, what motivates other people, what drives them, you know, and their story. Everybody has a unique story. So I think on that kind of note, I think how, I guess, you know, who, maybe just a quick one, you know, who inspires you? And I guess in those times where sometimes we feel we need a bit of external motivation. So maybe, you know, we can talk about a bit of external and then internal motivation. But if we start with the external, you know, sometimes if you feel you need motivation, do you have somebody that you know, you can go to? Is it a team? Is it, you know, Abdelwahab, you mentioned a co-founder you had, you know, how important was that person, you know, when starting something like that, you know, people that you connect with. So yeah, just, you know, how important are the people around you, and who do you seek for motivation?
Awesome. That's actually a very good, amazing question for you that know me. I'm very big on one quote. I mean, proximity is power. The people that you surround yourself with on daily basis dictate the level of success you see in life. I do have two individuals actually in my life that are, you know, I consider, you know, my best friends. Of course, my wife, my kids. But for me, it's about the my clients, and I think I'm very fortunate to be in such a position to see my clients start from where they are and making these progress. So to be honest with me, with you, like on daily basis, the average Joe that who's has a vision in mind, that they put in day in and day out work and hustle, that trying to make it, that's my daily motivation, to be honest with you. You know, for me, I actually strive for that. You know, so when I wake up and get a, you know, contact with someone who's struggling, or someone who just can't find a path, or someone who's trying to beat themselves up, or someone who's just trying to get through something that's with them, and then seeing that they are accessing all the resources that they have and tapping to me, for example, reading, you know, doing their homework and reaching out and watching podcasts, and then putting that extra work on daily basis. To be honest with you, that's the true motivation that I see. I agree with you, Muhammad, 100%. You know, at that phase, you know, having a co-partner or co-founder in a session in that level was great. But in that sense, I want to take it back, you know, 12 years ago or so, like 8 years ago or so. It was big on like we use each other, you know, to work on the things that I think like we're missing in our lives. So, you know, so if I was lacking a certain, you know, entity, but I think it was very like work driven. And that's what I'm saying. Like when I start to find my purpose and taking a step away from it, I wanted just to stay away, because for that specific reason, the motive was to make it, like when you think about motive is to make it, you know, like from a work perspective, or from a career perspective, I mean, we want to make a name to ourselves. So it was a little bit different. It was just me and him, you know, trying to give each other that day to day, because we had a bigger purpose, which is, you know, make this company work. But now taking away from that, and taking the expectation away from that just like that day to day, you're doing it because you want to improve your life in general. And the impact that you're making, it doesn't just affect you as a person, but affect everyone around you. And to be honest with you, that's my daily motivation. You know, and that's what keep me excited every day.
That's amazing, man.
Abdelwahab, that really resonates with me. Like when Muhammad first asked the question, I was like, my mother, like without a doubt, a resilient woman, mashallah. But then I was like, okay, beyond my mother, who is really motivating me? And I think for us to continue to be inspired, to continue to dream, to continue to have a vision, we have to see those qualities in other people. And to keep that motivation like going, you see traits that you like in people, and I'm like, why not emulate it? Why not learn from them? Why not strive to be like that person? Then you meet someone else that inspires you, and it's like a trickle down effect. But I see the importance of also having like someone that motivates you in your career field, say like that you could strive for too.
Beautiful. Yeah, I mean, just hearing that, that motivates. It motivated me just hearing that. But honestly, and I feel you on that. For me personally as well, like I would say, the single most like important people that have really motivated me are my parents. And it's just through their kind of story, like, you know, their story is quite similar to the stories of most of us diaspora, in the sense that, you know, they were brought up in Sudan. They fled the country in order to like find a better life outside of Sudan, you know, and they came to a foreign land which wasn't their own, but they had to make it. They had to find a way to make it. And this kind of in those kind of memories, and, you know, having those annual kind of trips back to the motherland, to Umdurman, to Khartoum, and elsewhere around the country, you go through these kind of stories that you share with your parents, mashawir, you know, and lessons that you learn from your parents. And it's been those lessons for me that have really helped shape who I am. It's helped to shape me. And the thing that always sticks with me is that my parents from a young age would always say, "Fil hayadi," and you have to aim high. And you never be afraid to aim high. And at the same time, like whilst you're aiming high, don't forget to give back during the process, not after the process, but during the process. But that's kind of encompassed me, you know, like throughout my life. Like if I was applying for a university, it wasn't, you know, I would always think, you know what, how can I apply for the biggest university I can get into? It's a mindset. If I work hard, I can get into this university. If I get into a big university, I can learn great knowledge, and so on and so on. So that's kind of helped shape who I am. And I think what you said, Abdelwahab and Tabarak, in the sense that in a way, like life kind of motivates you, because the journey in itself, you meet so many different people. Like look at us, like right now on this podcast, learning from one another, learning from you, Abdelwahab, and your experiences in forming I Will Coaching, right? I wouldn't be surprised tomorrow we're in another podcast, or we're listening to another podcast, or we're watching a video where Will Smith's talking about, you know, his lessons of success or lessons of failure, or Denzel Washington. In a way, life motivates you, and you learn from those experiences and those failures from others, and that helps to really shape who you are.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
Facts, and I really like your give back during the process. You know, I think a couple billionaires could have done with that advice on the rise, and the world would be a lot more equitable place. Like, I'm not even lying, you know.
It's facts. Yeah, it's facts. Yeah.
Ihab, did you want to jump in as well?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, yeah, you know, when you asked the question, I was like, my brain was just rushing. I was like, who could I just mention? Like, how can I just, you know, take away one person? Outside, you know, obviously my parents have been a great inspiration, but outside of that, can I name one person? And like, I really had to dig very deep, because I think what really motivates us on a day-to-day basis is the people that do surround us, you know? And once you're surrounded by highly driven, motivated people, it's kind of tough, you know, to ask the question, like, who motivates you the most? And I do think that team is important in, you know, conquering the goals and getting to where you want, you know, in your career and life. But I think after digging really deep, what really stands out to me is the person that I mentioned in my intro, my coach, Lukman Rashad, who's a guy from Chicago. I'm just, at this point, I'm a kid in Dubai that's, you know, doesn't know what he's doing. Am I going into college? Am I going to Malaysia to study? You know, I was kind of, you know, at a position where my family's leaving to the States. I don't want to leave. So this guy comes in, like, and I tell you, like, he carries so much swag, and like, he just carries a spotlight with him anywhere he goes, you know? And this guy actually convinced me to stop playing soccer, start playing basketball, and actually installed the idea of getting a basketball scholarship in the States to a guy that's never touched a basketball in his life, you know? And at first I'm like, man, this guy's crazy, you know? Like, that was my only explanation to that. Like, you're not about to convince me to pick up a basketball, you know, and fly all the way to the States and play basketball there on a full scholarship too. So anyway, I give the guy a chance one summer, and like, man, like literally being around him day in and day out, he literally pushed every single button, physically, mentally, emotionally. Like, it was literally a boot camp that kind of shaped who I am today, and I'm very, very grateful of that. But I think like what he did is he instilled the seed, and he kept feeding it with water, you know, and motivating it. But you know, by the time it was all grown, like, I manifested what I visualized through him, you know. So he made me visualize getting a scholarship in the States. And mind you, I just started playing basketball 2 years later. Like that same year I started playing basketball, my family leaves to the States. I stay back, you know, and 2 years later, after visualizing that through him, I'm in the States, in Chicago, in his city, on a basketball scholarship in the city of MJ, you know, and ever since then, you know, when that happened to me, like, I've literally believed in the power of manifestation and prayer and hard work, you know, and all these good stuff. And I always try to preach this out so people can really understand, you know, the power of really working, you know, having a vision and working towards it, you know. And yeah, so props to Lukman Rashad. Big shout out. I'm sending this video.
That's amazing. That's an amazing story. And I think there's a few things I picked out from there. Ma'alesh Abdelwahab, did you say proximity is
Power.
Is power? That's it. Okay, proximity is power. And the other thing as well is you know, some people say you are the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with the most. So, you know, how strong, how motivating, how you know, how much vision do these people have? How much do they care about the same things that you care about? You know, how aligned are you? You are, you know, with these people all the time, essentially you are going to be roughly their average. So surround yourself with amazing people like the people on this panel, mashallah, tabarakallah. And then again, kind of the risk taking. You know, Mandur, you kind of spoke about that in our parents' stories. Mashallah, you know, they all took big risks when they thought, you know, there was the big opportunities in front of them. And just kind of, I really liked the story about your personal trainer and the vision that he had for you. It was like, you know, even before you had vision for you, or that specific vision, right? And so I guess, you know, how important is that? Is it to have that vision? And I guess, like, how can we be resilient and be persistent with that vision? Because sometimes we get too focused on the goal and we forget about the process, right? So yeah, I guess, like, maybe you can either just talk generally about vision, or if you have a specific story where, you know, the outcome that you wanted wasn't the outcome that you got, but actually you, through being persistent, or, you know, through being persistent, how did you get to a different outcome? Or even what motivates you on the day to day? There are loads of, like, you know, there are a lot of us who sit here and we're like, I want to start up a company, but, like, you don't want to file a, you know, tax return, for example, or you don't want to file for, you know, a 501c3, etc. So a lot of questions in there, but yeah, just what do you think about vision, and how do you stay consistent along the process?
So I can jump to it if you guys allow me. When you asked that question, first thing that came to mind is, and that was a question that I actually asked myself. If I woke up one day, if each one of us just wake up one day and everything's gone, like no job, no money, no family, no support, nothing is gone, what is the only thing that you have? And I asked myself that question, and the answer was me. Perfect. So when I answered that question, that I have me, so now my mind shifted into, so why am I investing so much time and energy on other things, on other people, versus the other way around? You know, that's when I start to stop depending on people to hand me things and do things for me, and start to look at myself internally to improve that. And and that's when I think for me the journey of self-love started. I started to think about, all right, so if I'll go to the gym, for example, and I'm gonna jump in here and then just take some of the things from me, because I'm motivated by the videos you posted on a daily basis, brother. So if you go to the gym on a daily basis and work, let's say on your right arm, like just lift it, right arm, every single day, doing the same exact momentum for an hour. Let's say 3 months later, what you're gonna have is, you're gonna have some big ass right arm, some weak left, terrible back, no abs, and it's, so that's where the power of and like loving the process and being patient with it. So the decision is like, okay, so but if I go in there and I start to work on both arms, legs, back, every single day, just dedicate, some time for one part of my body, and do that every day. Within 3 months, I might not see the results that I want, but I bet you what, a year from now, I'm gonna be a very balanced individual going through the process. So that's another thing that kicked in. The third one is, and exactly what you said, Mohammed, is not about the end result. And I think that's one of those things that a lot of people are so focused on getting to that I find that end result. Because guess what? You will get to that end result, and then what? And that actually happened to me, where when we started that company and got to that to that level, and then to ask myself, then what? Right. So, loving the process and going through it on day to day, and actually enjoying what you do, that's the key to everything we do in life. So when I wanted to start Our coaching, literally I had no vision. Like I quit my job that Friday at 1 o'clock, got home. And the one question, like literally just started to remind myself that I have what it takes. I mean, I believe in myself and I believe in my ability and I believe I can do it. So the next question that I asked myself, what am I good at? Literally, what am I good at? Pen and paper. And the answer, I answered three things. I talk too damn much. I'm good with people and I'm very genuine. So I said to myself, all right, all right, well, I have these things that I can build with. I understand who I am and I know what I'm able to bring into the table. And I'm willing to do whatever it takes, working hard work to put in the work on a daily basis, believe in myself and my ability. So to answer your question, I think the key to everything we do is number one, believe in your ability. Number two, actually start to invest in yourself. And that could be the self-growth, that could be reading the book, that could be surrounding yourself with these amazing individuals, that means listen to the podcast, that means taking courses and just improving that ability of yours. And then the third one is just getting started, just do it. Because if you don't do it, guess what? You're never gonna get there if you don't start getting there. So to be honest with you, that was just my formula as far as, that getting in and starting. And one of the commitments that I made to myself that I will never start something that I don't like, so for me, like going through this journey, it's that day to day, I'm loving the process. I'm loving helping. I'm loving talking too damn much. I'm loving, embracing and cherishing myself. I'm living, just the growth that I see my clients go through. So, I think to everyone that wants to start that journey, asking yourself why, so someone wants to start a business, asking yourself, why do you want to start a business? And once you understand why you want to start a business, then you can continue to move forward. But if you don't understand why you want to do it, you just want to do it because everyone else is doing it. I mean, I think that's when you find yourself getting stressed out or getting, just stuck in the process, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Wow. A lot to unpack there, mashallah. Thank you for dropping some, a lot of wisdom. Sorry, the rest of the panel, before I come to you, I just have a question. Like, I guess there might be parts of the you don't enjoy. Like, I'm asking, I'm just curious, like, are there parts that, you don't enjoy? And when you don't enjoy them, is it about having the overall vision to keep you going? Or is it that this thing is a facilitator for you doing what you enjoy? How do you see it?
So I'm sorry, like I think you got cut off in a second, but so your question was, like when you have to do things that you don't enjoy doing, right?
Yeah. So like in your current, job, which you enjoy, right? There must be tasks, and sometimes it can be big, sometimes it can be small tasks that you don't enjoy.
Right.
What keeps you motivated and going through those?
Perfect. Awesome. One of the lessons that I learned, I think one of the first lessons that I ever learned from one of my teachers back when I was a 17-year-old, he asked me a question about, what do you want to do in life? And I said, I want to be a doctor. I want to start a business. So he looked at me and he said to me, Abdelwahab, always teach someone to take your spot in order for you to move up in life. So that for me didn't make sense. Literally, I'm like, what this guy's talking about. Fast forward, 7-8 years into business and finding myself getting like trying to do it all. I'm trying to be the admin, I'm trying to do the billing, I'm trying to make the calls, I'm trying to do the marketing. And that's when I remember what this guy said to me. So, and that's when I started to learn about abundance. Teach other people the tasks that I'm not good at, or I don't need to do, and things like that. The power of delegation, and it's not about, hiding things and being scared or someone's going to learn things from you and then he's going to start another business and then it's going to chat. It was never that. So that's when I start to allow other people in my life and ask for help if I have to. Currently, I do have a job, that I enjoy most of it, but there are certain things that, like you said, it's not pleasant. So what do? I delegate, I ask for help, I hire individuals that can take that away from, from my hands so I can focus on the things that I want to do. So I think that power of always in your mind about you preparing the next person to take your place, that's when you become a lot more, the abundance will kick in, and that's when you become a lot more, like in like I think in line with who you are, and continue to grow and to create, to think, to process and to do things differently, because now you don't have to do the admin tasks that you don't have to do, to be honest with you.
Wow, that's really profound. And like like you said, we all have this kind of have this inherent abilities, right? I believe anyway, that we're good at. And so it's finding that, how do you, you find that, and then you try and make sure that that is what you do. Because, for example, like you said, you like talking to people, you're genuine, you care. So if a task starts to maybe have 1 out of those 3, then you probably are, all of a sudden a little bit disengaged. And what we need is, we need people that are passionate about what they do. So if it's somebody who, really, really loves numbers, and you're spending, 3 hours of every day doing finance stuff, you're you're not doing the absolute best that you can. And so we've got a question which I think ties into this discussion, but I want to let the panelists get some thoughts in, if they have any, or reflections as well on what Abdelwahab said.
First of all, I want to say for our viewers, if you're watching, get a learning journal. I'm sitting here, I'm taking notes. Because anytime anyone says anything profound, write it down, because at least for me, I have a hard time comprehending in the moment, but after the moment, I reflect on what is said. I think the point that you touched on vision, I'm thinking about like how we were as kids. As kids, we dream big, and like, it's like, Mom, I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a businessman. At what point in our life does that stop? Do we stop dreaming of all the things that we could be? And I struggled with that. Like, I struggled with that in high school. At one point I was like, I want to go into medicine. I also want to go into law. I have no idea. And everyone around me, adults, like, Tabata, you have to pick one. You can't be unfocused like this. But it just didn't sit right with me. I'm like, there has to be a way, like, if I care about health and I also care about law, there has to be something that intersects these two. But at one point did I start listening to myself. Again, I went my whole freshman year as a microbiology major, still unsure of what route, if this is the route that's true for me. But when it comes to having a vision, it starts with listening to yourself and what your needs are, and believing that you could do it, but also that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help you get there, and putting that trust in it. Even at times, like, there's been times for me where I don't even trust in myself, but I trust that God will get me there. So in those moments, and alhamdulillah, like, it's definitely like, I think that trust in God helped bring some things into reality. And also taking those active, like, steps, like, there's I think it's a hadith, like, tie your camel and then pray that Allah keeps us safe. Yeah, right. That's kind of been my motivation. And when it comes to visions, like, don't dismiss it. Don't, like, imagine it, listen to it, vision it, think about all the different possibilities, and then think about why this is important and why I want this to be. Because no matter, like, if you stick to your why as the grounding point, or like that purpose that we were talking about earlier, if you let that, like, ground you, then you're reaching your vision. It's endless. Like, we think about, don't get stuck on the how. I always say this, don't, like, if with my mentees and things like that, I say, don't get stuck with how am I going to do this? Because the how is going to change throughout the process. In my story, like, of my undergraduate career, like, started out with microbiology, unsure about pre-med, unsure about pre-law, switched my major, doing public service, public policy, well, health policy. And it's completely different. I'm still pre-med. I'm still invested in law, or specifically, I found out that I was interested in more advocacy and advocating for patient rights. But this stuff changes, but the vision is still there. Like, I still have a vision of who I want to be or how I want to live my life. And I refuse to personally, like, just pick one thing, and allow yourself to dabble with different crafts, allow yourself to learn. I think that is really the key in regards to visions and bringing them into reality. It's just keep dreaming big and believe that no matter what you do, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help you. Even if you don't trust yourself, trust in Allah. That's all I'm going to say.
Wow. Honestly, I'm scribbling away a lot, guys. Like, you're dropping so much.
And I think just to tie what Tabarak said, just having that vision. I think a lot of times, like, people do have visions and dreams of fulfilling, you know, certain things in their life, but it's all about risk taking. This is where people are like, okay, do I do this or do I not? You know, and I think 90% of the people that do take risks will tell you that they're happy they took that risk, you know, because they've dropped everything that's valuable to them in order to fulfill that vision that they had, you know. So you're gonna put all those extra hours in. You're gonna put that hard work in, right? With the trust in Allah and God, and you know, really putting that work, because you know, لكل مجتهد نصيب, you know, in Arabic. So every hard worker, there's a reward. So you know, those words are not light, but risk taking is major key. And there's a quote that I love. I'll just say it out. It says, "The graveyard is the richest place on earth, because it is here that you will find all the hopes and the dreams that were never fulfilled." You know, so just sit back and reflecting on that.
That's a good one.
The amount of people that had the potential and did not take that risk. We need that dash of motivation.
That's it.
We need more people to take more risks. We need people to get out there and fulfill their goals, especially for everybody watching, man. Like, don't do it for you. Do it for everybody else. You know, do it for your family, your country, everybody that needs you. So let's take those risks, man. Like, literally, you know, and motivate each other to do so.
That's it.
You know, that ties in. Sorry, go for it, Abdelwahab.
No, go ahead, brother.
I was gonna say, it ties into, I think as like Sudanese people in general and many other like traditions, there is this perception that taking a risk is actually, you know, you shouldn't do it. You know, you should live in a level of comfort. And it's crazy, but like all of us on this panel, including you, Abdelwahab, you were saying, you know, either it's medicine or you're an engineer or, you know, or you're a lawyer, you go through those traditional kind of safe routes. But if you want to kind of innovate in a way, or you want to go out the norm, then it can be perceived as a risk. Something where you're not guaranteed a 9-to-5 job, and it's something that could potentially, you know, like end your life, you know. And I think this new generation that we have, we're much more risk takers, to some extent. But I think it does lie in terms of having a vision. And I really felt what you said, Tabarak, about like, really with the vision side of things, it's tying your camel and then you tawakkal Allah, right? It's not the other way around where you just tawakkal Allah, you pray 24 hours a day, praying that something will happen. And then when it doesn't happen, expect different results, right? Or different outcome. Everything is related through hard work, and at the same time, like taking it step by step. I think this touches on what you were saying, Abdelwahab, like, you know, you can have an end goal, but you'll never get there unless you take it step by step. And it's whilst you're going through that journey, and those series of failures that will enable you to reflect, to understand what you could have done better, whether to change strategy, and so on and so on. Like, and if you have a really clear-cut vision and a goal, and you're determined to get there, then you can get there. And if you tie your camel and then tawakkal Allah, and if all doesn't go to push and shove, then maybe it just wasn't meant for you. Maybe if you had Adania was meant for you. I think that's where you can take a step back and you can actually say to yourself, do you know what? I did everything I could in my power to make this reality a reality. But the fact it hasn't happened, maybe it just wasn't meant for me. Maybe there is something else that was meant for me. And I think what you said, Abdelwahab, about you know, how you get around the notion that, you know, you want to focus on something you're really passionate about, and the way you go around doing that within your business is delegating the things that you're, say, less passionate about, or maybe finding those people that actually have a passion in doing it, which is not only a smart thing to do, but it just demonstrates life, right? Like, there's a lot of things you might not like, but there's a lot of things that other people will like, and I think that's where it comes into teamwork and just working together and everything. So just hearing that was really impactful and inspiring as well.
Definitely. Just want to piggyback on what you have and Mandura actually and Atamak just mentioned about, you know, taking the risk. Why do I think the $1 million question? Why don't we have enough people to take risk? The answer to that is fear, to be honest with you. And I know Mandura, earlier you had you know, the workshop that you guys did, the live with Michael. You talked a little bit about fear and how to overcome fear. Just one thing into that thought process, you know, a mind, it's actually designed to protect us. So when you start to think from a mind perspective about things and taking a risk, I promise you, your mind will give you 10 million reasons not to do it, because of the fear of failure, fear of just, not being accepted, fear of just, like not feeling good, fear of whatever that is, change, fear of just discomfort. So, the answer to that, I think digging deeper into, identifying, the reasons behind these fears. Like, why am I fearful from this position? Why am I not starting this business? And, going back into what Tabarak mentioned, it's not about how, because your mind is going to give you like, how are you going to do this? How are you going to be able to do this thing? But get deeper into the why. Why do you want to do it? Why is it important for you? And like I mentioned, don't just, do it for you, but do it for your family, do it for your country, do it for those loved ones, and put it all on the line and just get started. So I think identifying where the fear is coming from, that's that self-reflection, digging deeper into it. And once you understand it, it's just fear, do it. It's literally just do it. I tell people just burn the boat, literally just burn the boat and jump in. Because I promise you now, once you find yourself in a situation where, okay, you have to figure out, your mind will continue to find reasons to make you comfortable. And that's why you start to mitigate. And that's why, so one of the things that I do on a daily basis, as far as that daily thing, is working on how do I control my mind and into telling my mind that I am in control. So, and this is a funny story, all my clients know this, I do take cold showers, like just extremely cold showers daily. So literally I'm standing there next to the shower on daily basis, and my brain is telling me, giving me every reason not to do it. Like it's, and that's daily. And I'm looking at him saying, no, I am in control. I'm going in. And you go in and you get that, just that the extreme cold thing, and then you get out of it and you do it again the next day. And you get it. And it just got part of that mind control as far as like, I am in control. I am in control of my own destiny, and I am going to take risks. And my mind, you'll never tell me otherwise. So just the thing that I do on my daily basis too.
That's
they
great.
allow me
That's
that.
amazing.
That's incredible.
With the cold showers, I don't know if you know Justin Baldoni. He's an actor in Jane the Virgin, and also he follows a Baha'i faith and does a lot of mindfulness training. And that's one of the things that he does also on a regular routine. Those cold showers, where you kind of put your body in a state of shock, and you shock your body, and then you kind of go into that reflective state of breathing, focusing on breathing, focusing on grounding yourself. It's really cool that seeing it get mentioned here, because I've been wanting to try it.
It's awesome. It's painful, but it's great. It's great.
It's just to tie it all back, I think that's really interesting, because Abdelwahab, you kind of answered the question I was then gonna almost pose to people, or some reflections I had. And it's kind of this, I love what you said, Tabarak, about dreaming big, and as kids we're taught to dream big, we're fearless, we have these massive dreams, and we are continuously told to bring them in, and told that you need to channel that energy in a specific direction. You need to choose a agreeable path, and what I find interesting is how can you calculate the risk of a certain path? It's near impossible. Every day we cross the road, and there's so much risk in that. What is to say one path is riskier than other? So, and then from that, we were discussing that, and this fear, this thing that tells us, actually, let's not take the path that we feel is our path, and how do we overcome that? And I love that, you talk about controlling our minds, and even I went ice skating in December, and I hadn't been for maybe 1 or 2 years, and it's you're wobbling, and you're almost falling over, and all this kind of stuff. And I realized, I was you should do something like this regularly. You should do something where you're afraid to fail, not afraid, but where you're really out of your comfort zone. It's saying to you, look, okay, maybe 9 out of, or 6 out of the 10 things you do every day you are good at. So why don't you try something every day that actually you're not good at? Because that's going to teach you, the sort of growth mindset to, if I am not afraid to fail, if I am, then I can actually achieve this. And, one of the things that sort of Kobe Bryant was, they kind of said this is an attribute that he had, was he was stubbornly unafraid of failing. So whatever he put his mind to, exactly, whatever he put his mind to, he was going to say, I don't care if I fail. And I think one of the things that we as society have is we have this fear of failure, and it can be crippling. So, you know, I'm glad you pointed out ways that we can try and overcome that, because, you know, and I feel like, I don't know, maybe some of you as well will have had some experiences, but I feel like sometimes people actually, they want to see you fail, because it reinforces the status quo, which is do normal things, don't do extraordinary things. But if you achieve the extraordinary, they want to be they want to be near you, because you've got this kind of esoteric quality, this thing that they thought was impossible. So, you know, it's
because they have like insecurities in their own self. I think that's what it comes back to, right? Someone that doesn't want to see you reach your full potential because they're worried that somehow, you know, you're in competition with one another. I think that's a problem, and it ties into what you were saying, Mohammed and Abdelwahab and Tabarak and Ihab. A lot of it is like, you can, a lot of I just kind of lost my. There was an example I wanted to try and give, but yeah, it's a lot of thinking that one of the reasons why people are afraid of failure, I'd say, is that there's a fear of criticism from others, and that you know, it's having that fear of criticism or maybe even acceptance from others that prevents you from going forward. And whilst Abdelwahab was kind of giving that analogy of him standing, you know, just about to enter like a cold shower, and his mind telling him no, but his body telling him okay, you know. I was just reminiscent of Will Smith jumping off a parachute. I don't know if you saw that video. Literally, right? And the amount of time.
I was just thinking of that.
You know, crazy, right? Yani, it had like, just seeing that video, like, and his mind, like what his mind was going through until he got to that plane and he decided to jump. And it was when he jumped that he realized that, he loved it. Like something which he was so scared about, that fear disappeared as soon as he was in the moment. I think it's just it's another powerful analogy as to how you can come to it.
You said the maximum point of danger is the minimum point of fear. And that really resonated with me.
That's it. It's deep. It's deep.
It's so deep. It's so deep, man.
I tell people all the time. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go for it, Abdul.
I tell people all the time, do the things that scare you. Like literally do the things that scare you, you know, because that's where you find joy. You know, open that business, or, you know, quit that job, or break up that relationship, or, you know, just travel, pick up and, you know, leave, and just do the things that scare you. And to be honest with you, a lot of time it's like that's where we find growth. That's when we find fulfillment. It's, you know, you're absolutely right. You know, you mentioned it's that point when you get into it, and then it's, you know, a lot of, but again, if you don't take that risk, you'll never be able to enjoy that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Amen.
Facts.
I like that thought. Just to add on to that, I think like your brain by the end of the day is a muscle, so you got to train that muscle into these things, right? So for example, like Abdelwahab, you spoke about you know, taking those cold showers. You know, right now it's Ramadan. I'm doing this thing where I'm working out. I'm doing intense conditioning workouts right before iftar. You know, like at the point of like my minimum energy. You know, like I'm about to break down. I go for a full conditioning workout that I probably wouldn't survive on a regular day. But what that does is it trains me mentally, and it gives me that strength to know that, you know, whatever I put my mind into, I could do it. So, and I think that's very important, like just with small day-to-day things, you know, to kind of literally train your brain to take that leap, you know what I mean? And push yourself to get to the next level. And I think through that is where, like you said, Abdelwahab, growth happens. And then when you're put in bigger situations where you need that leap of faith, your brain's already accustomed to that. So it makes the process itself easier than it is. Yeah, good point is that.
Yeah. Wow, mashallah.
Say no more. To
great
be honest with to be honest with you, you touched it. I'm so sorry I'm jumping in here, but I get excited about things like this. It's all about the baby steps. It's all about the baby steps. It's all about. I mean, again, when you think about change and growth and progress, we don't go from 0 to 100. We never do that. We go from 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 2 to 3, and then and that's how we get to 100. So I think, starting, and this is something that's going to help tremendously, that self, confidence and that self-esteem to take risks, is by you to start setting up some very small achievable goals. And you crush the shit out of them. Excuse me, I know I'm fast, but I get excited about this. And you literally small achievable goals, and you crush them. And you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again. And that's how you build that momentum. Like, for example, you want to wake up early. I hear this all the time from my clients. I'm not a morning person. I'm not a morning person. I promise you, within 21 days of anybody that working with me, they're all are morning people, which is just the craziest thing ever. It's like, hold on, you waking up before I do?
Yeah, it's crazy.
I was like, this is nuts. But it's that, but we don't start from, you wake up at 11 o'clock every day to let's start waking up at 5. We never do that. So we'll go from 11, let's wake up at 7. And then we go from 7. If you do that for a couple of days and start at 6, and then if we do it for a couple of days, we do it at 5. And then all of a sudden, we add things that they're excited about and why they should wake up early. Why? We continue to push that why. And then these are the small achievable goals. And then once they crush it, they build that momentum. Then the confidence begin, to build up. And what you have mentioned, once you become confident about yourself and your ability to achieve things, now bring in a big task. You're in it and you crush it.
You're gonna smash it.
Yeah. That's it.
That's dope.
Yeah. I feel like
dope.
Abdelwahab, kind of following off of your point, I love the idea of setting like small attainable goals, because you build up that confidence over time. Like sometimes we get lost in our visions also. Like we set this big idea, like from this, like you see successful people and you think they got there like really quickly. You don't really necessarily see their failures, the hard times, the things that they did to get to that level of success. And I think it's like there's a power in like changing that mindset of how we see failure. I'm gonna quote one of our own, G Saleh, if you're watching this. He has a line in his song called On the Way, and he says,
I know this one.
You know the line.
if you're winning,
if I'm learning, then I'm winning, and if I'm losing, I'm winning. Yeah. So like looking at those opportunities of loss as a loss or failure as an opportunity to grow and learn from, like if we just switch that mentality, we're already succeeding. And instead of holding our own selves back, because there's going to be other barriers that we can't control, like those societal barriers, but we shouldn't make ourselves that barrier.
Well said.
Big facts being dropped. Yeah, so that definitely resonated with me, and especially seeking advice and motivation from people that are inspirational to me. That's something that is quite consistent. The thing is some of us dream in different ways, and it's easy to see the end goal and to think this is what we want to achieve, and then we, instead of just going and doing it, and through the process of starting, your mind is forced in breaking down into smaller goals. Because think about it, like anything that you do, if you actually just start on it, you immediately have to break it down into something smaller. You can't just try and swallow a plate whole, right? So that's what people, and that super resonates, like break it down into the smaller things. But if you sit on it, like you said, your brain then starts to work against you. It starts to think about all the reasons why this big dream is unachievable, because you haven't broken it down into these small achievable chunks. So I think those two things together, they're really powerful. Do it, get started, and then start breaking it down immediately. Do not let your mind start to wander into how you can't do this. So yeah, there was a question that we had from a bit earlier, and it's kind of, we've spoken a bit about like what we think we're good at, and I think sometimes people struggle to find that, and it can take a process. So how do you work on finding that skill to be able to contribute, and like what would you say to people who are on that path to finding that?
Hamid, can you please just repeat that question one more time? I'm so sorry. It might be my
No. It's not yours. I'm fairly sure we're having some more Virgin Media issues, unfortunately, in the UK. But yeah, so it's so essentially we've spoken a lot about people who finding what you're good at, right? So what would you some people, they're still on that path. How do they go about finding out that skill that they're good at and they can contribute with, and what advice would you give them on that path?
Awesome. So couple things to think about. It's, I tell people try. I mean, try things. I mean, try new things and fail. Try different things and fail in it. Why not? I think that's the million dollar question. We need to stop, as people, we need to stop putting timeline into things, deadline into things, as far as life. I remember graduating back and one of those guys that graduated with me, he was a 91 years old grandpa. And I was so fascinated by his thought. I'm like, what is this dude doing here? He's doing his tripping. So literally afterwards, I went up to him and I asked him that question. And he was telling me a story that he got, a person pregnant at an early age. They got married, they started a family. So he started working to provide, did this. They had a kid number 1, kid number 2, kid number 3, moved on, continued to work. Then kids start to have kids. And they just that journey. And then he was like, this great grandson of mine just decided not to go to college. He didn't want to do anything. He just wanted to stay in. So he went up to him and he challenged him. And he said, listen, if you go to school, I go to school. How about this? We major on the same thing. So they actually went back to school and they both had the same major, and they both graduated on the same day. It was like one of the most amazing things, stories that I ever heard in my life. So, so I asked him, I was like, so do you have an advice for me? Because I'm excited. And he said that he's like, don't ever put a timeline into success in life. I mean, so this is one of those things. And this is one thing that I wanted to speak about when I was in Sudan for a while. This is the constant thing that I'm hearing from a lot of the youth. I'm 29 and I'm 30, 31. I didn't do anything. I didn't achieve anything in life. Literally that mindset into and then they get stressed out that they reach a certain age, that didn't have a family, didn't start working, didn't go to school, didn't graduate, or they got a job. It was just a very facade thing, to be honest. So I started breaking that down as far as why are you putting a timeline on yourself? I mean, get in on a journey, take some shots at it, start a business, fail, start another one, fail, get to school, fail, open up this thing, fail, but then continue to learn. I mean, just learn not to make the same mistake over and over and over again. And even if it happens, guess what? Just keep moving forward. If you're following a path where it's a purpose, and this is something that you're very passionate about, and you tie it into, a strong why, I promise you will never fail if you put in the proper work into it. I'm a believer, to be honest with you, that there's no such a thing as someone smarter than another person. I believe that we all have 24 hours a day. It's how we spend that day. And there's a saying, and this is something I started to exercise a while back. I learned, I think early on, if you wake up an hour earlier than your competitors, if you do that 365 days a year, that means you saved 15 days on them, because that's about, think about 740, it's about 300 something hours more. So I said to myself, so if I wake up 2 hours before my competitors, I'm saving about a month on them. And literally that was the reason why I started waking up early. Now I'm up at 4 o'clock every morning for the past 8 years. It doesn't matter if it's Ramadan, not Ramadan, I'm up at 4 and I'm at it. The same energy that you see right here, that's me at 4 o'clock, because it's that understanding of all right, I have a purpose that I'm working towards it. So tying your why into why you want to do it, and then jump on it and fail and learn it and fail and learn and fail and just keep moving forward. Try new things until you find that niche. Because if you don't try, guess what? You never get it. ما حتعبط.
Yeah,
Abdelwahab, you're still winning.
That's it. Just like G Saleh said, man. Just on that note, I'm feeling everything you just said, bro. You said, you wake up at 4 every day. What time do you actually go to sleep? Because just through, reading and kind of observing successful people and stuff like that, there's that saying that, successful people generally wake up super early and they sleep super late, super early as well. Right. So yeah, how is that factored in with what you're doing?
100%. I'm very disciplined. That's one thing that I think if you want to talk about something and put 10 million lines under the word discipline. 10:30 for me is past my bedtime. And one of those things that I love people. People come over to the house, they hang out, and we do all these different things. But people that know me, you know me, will tell you, literally, you're at 10 o'clock. They'll be in my house. I'll come down and say, guys, listen, I love you. This is your house. Do what you need to do. Whenever you decide to leave, just close the door. I mean, I have no issues, but it's time for me to go to bed. Because and in their mind is like, hold on a second, seriously? Seriously, because it's that discipline. Because I understand if I don't go to bed on time, that's gonna drive my next. Because guess what? If I go to bed at 3 a.m., I still have to be up before. So I mean, it's up to me from a discipline perspective to understand. Do I want to have that 6 to 8 hours of sleep, or do I want to have one? And so I made that. So people that know me, they'll come over. Like I said, when it comes to discipline, as far as going to sleep early and waking up early, this is a must. And this is going back into that self-love, and self-respect and building who you are. Because if you love yourself, you have to put you first in certain, situations like this. I mean,
beautiful.
Wow. Yeah, that's super. And I'm glad you brought up the discipline word, because it's one thing that you need together with your why, because just the why and just the dream and just the vision, that's not enough. The discipline's important. So I guess I'm glad you talked us a little bit through some of your own personal self-discipline, but I guess how in the same way that it's a thing that you need to train, how do you start to train that self-discipline? Like what do you do apart from the sleeping on a daily basis to help build that self-discipline? Is it about, when you say, your working hours are, or your lunch or whatever, how what the essence of the question, what advice would you give to people who are struggling with self-discipline? How do they break that down into something they can train on a day-to-day basis?
Awesome. So one of the things that, my advice to every person that want to start, get a notebook, literally get a notebook. That would be your first advice. The second thing that I do, and I have my notebook here, I'll share that with you guys in a few minutes. It literally starts from 4 o'clock all the way to 10 o'clock or 10:30 at night. And I break it down per hour, and then in my life, I identified 6 different areas that I wanted to improve on and that I want to spend time on it daily. Not on a monthly, not daily. I think that example earlier about working out, balance is a critical thing. So the 6 important areas to me, and people can look at it differently, and they can pick and add or decrease or increase, whatever they want to do. Number 1 is that spirituality. That's, praying 5 times a day. That's reading X amount of verses of the Quran. That's going out there, being nice to my neighbor. That's, going out there and giving. That's me reading. That's reflecting. That's anything to do with spirituality in general, in general. So that's number 1. The second one is my physical being. And with physical being, I break it down into 4 different areas. You have my sleep, which is 6 to 8 hours a day. I have my food, eating, 3 meals a day, and I do have my snacks. And then with that, part of that self-love, I tell myself that I deserve to eat the best meals. So no fast food, none of that crazy stuff, because it's just part of, part of me investing on my own self. Number 3 is drinking enough water. That's within that, that physical being. I think 6 to 8 cups a day. That's something to, once, and will come piggyback on that. Once you're thirsty, already dehydrated. So I stay to stay hydrated throughout the whole entire day. And number 4 is exercise. For me, exercise is not going like it had to be status, going in there. For me, it's, spending really about, 45 minutes to an hour on a daily basis, either walking, either, just, like push-ups, either going to the gym, just doing some type of form of exercise. And I tell people 10 minutes a walk every day, just that fresh air can do the work for you. So that's the second piece. The third one is my mental state. That's me sitting back, reflecting, reading, listening to podcasts, writing, doing the things, driving to nature. That's one of those things that I love to do. So literally I'll hop on a car and just drive for 3 hours. If you guys know Virginia and been to Virginia, come on in. It's all about green. It's all about the nature. And for me, I embrace that. I love that. Number 4 is my relationship. And I know this is the series that we're going to be doing for the next, 4 or 5 days. With a relationship, we're breaking it down into relationship with self, relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, relationship with friends and families, and relationship with your significant others, and then relationship with just people in general. And how we break that down into how, I'm married, have 2 kiddos. So every day I do spend some time with my kid, each kid separately. I spend some time with my wife. I spend time with my parents. I spend some time with my siblings. I spend time with my friends, my family, my neighbors, and that's on a daily basis. And then you dictate the level of how much time do you want to spend. It could be just a quick call to dad and checking up on them. That's that checkbox, right? So that's that relationship. Number 5 is career. For me, is just working on my career, working on my journey, working on my path on a daily basis. So that's something, even if I don't have anything to do, learning about how to improve, learn about the technical things, doing podcasts, working on people, talking to people, doing my, just my hours. And then my last one is money. And money is a critical thing. It's tangible. It's how we earn it, how we spend it, how we invest it. And so with that, like on daily basis, I mean, I'm one of those individuals that I'm, when you talk about discipline, literally looking at my finances, how can I learn, what is that next move in there? How do I invest in the market? How do I jump in there? And then teaching myself and learn about all these different things. So to answer your question, how do people start? Get a journal, number 1, break down your hours, like, just like write down all the time, like the day, and then identify a few areas of your life, that you want to tackle, and you do it daily. The reason why I say that, because sometimes subconsciously when we good at one thing and not good at other things, we tend to do that, overdo things. Like, for example, if you're good at work, but you're terrible as far as relationships, you will start to find yourself just working 80, 90, 100 hours a day and trying to avoid this whole concept of cherishing the nature in those relationships. If you're terrible at working out, you'll stop just ignoring working out by working in a relationship and doing all the thing else. But if you have that breakdown of everything you want to do, that will give you some, some certainty, that will give you some uncertainty, that will give you love and connection, that will give you growth, that will give you contribution, that will give you significance. And those are the 6 human needs that when you think about it from that sense. So that'll be the advice, break it down into things achievable, things that's important to you, and then get that discipline into every single day. You want to do a little bit of something. So it's not just you're spending 8, 9 hours a day at work, getting burned out, do that for a week, and then come home and just crash. I mean, so to get started, just simplify it. I mean, less is more. I think we always say that less is more. So I think that's just my 2 thoughts into it.
I love that. I know for me in my personal life, I'm trying to get into that discipline. I think it is important in success. If it's all right with you, I wanted to share, like, I found this, it kind of sounds similar to the what you're suggesting that we should do in our daily life in our own journals. I found like a planner on Amazon that was super cool. This is just a page of it. I happen to have it right here, but it's by the Bliss Collection. And basically, it's kind of hard to see, but you plan out your day, like the different time slots. You start out with something that you're grateful for, like at the start of your day, and you do this like at the beginning of the day. The meetings right here, your to-do list, and like the top 3 things that you want to get done, as well as like there's a section for health and fitness. I've been slacking in quarantine, but I'll get better. And then there's also like water intake, and then it has like your breakfast, lunch, dinner, and like snacks, like so you can plan out your day. And then at the end of the day, you write down your achievements. So it's like, especially like for those people that are kind of, I'm in this process, I'm just suggesting something that has kind of been helping me be a little bit more disciplined. It sounds a lot like what you're saying. That's why I wanted to share it too.
I've called those six things that you're very passionate about, the six principles. That's what I've called it, Abdelwahab. So I'm going to put that in my journal, or 6 values in a way, right? 6 things you value.
Right.
Yeah, I definitely took notes there too. So definitely going to start doing that. Tap back in with you, Abdelwahab.
Much love, bro. Much love.
Yes, sir. By then we want to see the journal, Abdelwahab, man.
Yeah. If you give us a sec, I'm going to run in and get it.
Hey.
I like that. Mandor, you're like, no, I'm not letting them off. I need to see this journal.
Yeah, we need to see that.
But don't freak out. I mean, here's the journal, and one of the things that I actually pick is just plain thing that I tend to write. So here is my journal. It actually like a lot of colors, a lot of so this is an empty page. I love what you just said. So on the top, you see the date. You get my daily affirmation, and this is something that I send in on a daily basis. I do have gratitude statement. I do have my goals for the day, my gratitude statement, and then my to-do list. My to-do list is just, to be honest with you, is my BS stuff that I tell myself that I'm, that I have to do. It doesn't have to be. It's nothing to do with my purpose, but like calling UPS or making that specific or the task, that to-do list, that is not nothing to do for
The BS stuff, huh?
the BS stuff. That's my to-do list. And then you go into you know, my affirmation, and then you go into my schedule. And my schedule will look like this. That's today's Saturday. Yep, you'll look like this. So you know, like so you see like the things I highlighted. Those are my prayers in the time. You see my qiyam, you see my sahur, you see my iftar, you see my time with my kids, you see my time with my wife, you see that the meetings, everything highlighted. My to-do list here, the things that I complete, I just cross it out. And the things that I did not complete, I know that I have a couple more things that I need to do today. So it's there. And I love colors. So for me, it's like, you know, like, so you see this like thing here, that mean I did not do anything productive. I probably just laid down in bed and just watch, you know, that The Last Dance one more time, you know, prepare for tomorrow, something like that. And then you see some things I hear that's, you know, that's not like been created just yet. And that's when like that's my free time. So let's say I get a call from, you know, Ehab saying, hey bro, can we get on a call later? Literally I'll look at my schedule and say, all right, I mean, I can do this, you know, that way it's like, you know, I'm very visual into what I'm doing. So, you know, that's, you know, even until sleep, you know, I actually have sleep in there. That just get into it, you know, like it's there, you know, I'll write it down, and that's how I go by, you know, just that being disciplined. And the reason why I picked just a plain paper, because that's another thing, you know, Tabarak, when I loved what you just said, hey, you know, like this planner, and so many people right now got excited about the planner, but then right away in your mind, like, oh, should I order this? I don't know where to find it. I don't like the right color. That's not what the Tabarak mentioned to me. And if I order it from Amazon, someone with Corona probably touched it, and I'll get just to just get discouraged a little bit. So what I told myself is, get a pen and paper, get started. While you're starting, make that order, find the things that you really want, and then you continue build that habit throughout the process.
Yeah. Do you have a template out there for us to follow, Abdelwahab?
Sure. I'll send that to you. I do have an electronic one, so I'll send that to you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We'll share it with the rest.
Excellent.
Yes,
Amazing. So I think if we're just going to head into the questions segment, and then after that I will try my very best to summarize everything we discussed, which is a lot, and then we'll give a little teaser as to what we've got coming up. And you know, by the you know, the taster that we've given them today, you know, everyone's going to be tuning into the next one, I'm sure of that. Just, I guess, one, before I let other people ask questions, you know, and apologies if I've hogged the questions today, is, you know, the why is so important. This is what I think, you know, you have stressed. And I think, I just wanted to share something I heard the other day, and it was, you know, like we as humans, we kind of sometimes start to think like overly logically, you know, and then somebody sort of said, but it's emotion that actually it is what moves us. That's why there's motion in there, because it's the thing that moves us. So, you know, and that's so close to our why. So I think it's really important that, you know, we understand what why is. That is what is going to put us in motion. That's what I wanted to share. I mean, if you have any reflections on that, then you know, happy to hear them. If not, I can pose some more questions from the audience.
That's awesome. I mean, yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, there's a book, I think, that is called Emotional Intelligence. I don't know if you guys read that book before or not, but it's worth reading. It talks about things just from what you talked about, Muhammad. One thing just wanted to put out, I think, to put it all into perspective, life is just a bunch of choices. I mean, everything we do in life is a choice, and we have that choice. We have to make the choice. I mean, just woke up this morning. Did you put your right shoes on, or did you put your left on? You know, you wear that, you know, pray after shirt, did you put another black shirt? You know, what did you do? It's a bunch of choices that you have the ability to make, and you're making those choices. So when I tell people, I mean, there's also a thing is a bad choice. There's also a thing is a bad choice. There's just a choice that we make. Either we're gonna get some great results from it, or you're gonna learn from it, and then just continue to make another choice. You know, so just, you know, when you think about things from that perspective, you know, life into that basic, and to just break it down into that, and it's just a bunch of choices that you're making. I mean, there's a lot of things, of course, will affect the choices that you make, you know, culture, you know, backgrounds, and external forces, internal forces are bringing all these different things. But at the end of the day, if you continue to remind yourself that you are in control, you are in control, you're the one who's making the choice. And even if you just messed it up, guess what? You take responsibility for it. That's where the accountability will come in, and you continue to make choices. That's just how basic that is, to be honest with you.
Yeah, facts. So I'll pose our first question from second question from the audience, and it was, Abdelwahab, how do you deal with the backlash of people around you, so family, friends, community, if you chase after something seen as unconventional by others? And I don't know, maybe I think this person is kind of touching at, you were on mental health before it was kind of, popular in a sense. So people must have been looking around like, بس هذا لو باراسيتامول الوجع راسته ولا whatever the thing is.
Yeah, I love it, and one of those things, and that might be an interesting answer to a lot of people. When it comes to being very disciplined, that's another thing. I'm very disciplined as far as who I allow in my life, and I want to be 100% honest with this. Like for me, proximity, as I mentioned earlier, is power, and that's including everybody. Sometimes it's like, do have those negative, siblings and those negative, friends and extended families and all those individuals. So, I mean, I understand my right and I understand their rights. I mean, for me to check in with them, that doesn't mean I have to allow them to be closer. I heard a quote by Tupac a few years ago. He said something about like when I'm I don't want to phrase it. I mean, he said like if we stop hanging out, that doesn't mean like if I stop hanging out with you, that doesn't mean I hate you. That means like I want you to eat. I want well for you, but I want you to eat, but not in my table. It's just that same mentality. I have friends, I have families, I have individuals. Just because they're negative influencer, just their energy doesn't match mine, their mindset doesn't match mine. I mean, they have so much to say negative to bring into the table. That doesn't mean that I have to continue to allow myself to hang out with them. No, you know what? I understand the relationship. I check in with them every once in a while. I don't spend a lot of time with them because I'm too focused on adding those positive individuals into my life. So, this is one of those biggest things. You have to make that choice. Identifying individuals. And once you start to see that pattern, like you cannot change people, by the way, unless they want to change. So, I mean, this is one of those things that we tend to see, clearly that we all want to play that therapist role. You see, your family member who's not doing well, you want to jump in and help, and then all of a sudden you find yourself getting dragged into that whole mess. A lot of times, like right now with my own family members, I'm here to help. You come to me, we talk about it, we process it. You will hear something that you probably don't want to hear because I'm going to give it to you in a sense of what's going to help you out, and I'm going to give you resources. Go check yourself out, do what you need to do. I'm always going to be here. I'm continue to move forward. You're either with me, or if you don't want to, it's okay. That's perfectly fine with me. I came to that realization a few years ago, and to be honest with you, I understood the fact that I'm not a therapist to the whole world. We just can't do that. There's therapists that can do that job. So if you see someone with your family members or someone who's bringing a lot of negativity and you find yourself getting caught up in the mix, take a step back, out of it, evaluate your relationship with that person. That doesn't mean like you cut them off and you don't talk to them and things like that. But you just do it, lay into what you're doing with them, and you continue to move forward. Just again, I think there's a saying, winners focus on winning and losers focus on winners. So they got to be, again, they're going to find you, continue to make that progress and continue to move forward. And then they have a choice to make. Either they're going to straighten out themselves and their lives and they seek for help and do what they need to do, and they will continue to move forward, or they're going to just stuck being that rut, that rust for just nothing is working out, hating everybody, don't want you to succeed and all these different things, but that's up to them. You make those choices and make what's best for you. And again, that goes back into that self-love and self-respect and self-cherish and things like that. So that'll be my advice, just evaluating this relationship with everybody, to be honest with you. I mean, with parents is an interesting one because again, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, asks us, there's a lot of different things with it. But I mean, I learned throughout my years that, having, when we think about like just that the conversations, it's the approach, it's about how we approach them. I think when you dig deeper into our parents' minds and trying to understand where they come from love and they come from fear. They don't want you to get hurt, and they don't want you to get hurt going through the process. So when you go in there and then you have to start to have these dialogues and start to talk to them about their thought processes and why they think the way they think it, not in a disrespectful way or against their way and all these different things, but it's that approach. Once you have that gentle approach, that give and take, and they understand your maturity and they understand that, that you want to make these mistakes, you want to make these moves, and you have these conversations, and you let them know that you will consult with them throughout the way, because guess what, this is your journey. You want to make these fail, you want to fail, you fail, you want to go through these routes, and you want to go through these things, and they just, and they did well. When I was in Sudan, just a quick second, when I was in Sudan, we did a workshop for specifically parents, and we had about 75 parents showed up to it. Was one of that. Just think about age group from 39 to like Habubat, like 80s. They're just hanging out in that discussion, and I took a very interesting point where I said to them, guys, listen, like throughout your kids' life, they'll go through school, they get to that Thalith Ilmi, whatever, like Thalith, Thalith Thanawi, right? And then all of a sudden they have to make a choice between Adabi wala Ilmi, and then within Adabi there's a couple of things, and within Ilmi there's a couple of things. But then you as a parent influencing every decision in their lives. You telling them, you're good at math, you should go to do math. You're good at this, you should be a doctor. So where is giving your kids a choice to make? Where is it, where does it, like you're trying to reflect your own fear and failures and successes within your kids. Then your kids jump onto that, they take that route, they go through, and then all of a sudden they find themselves either graduated and they just don't want to work because they just hate it, or failing because it's not the route they took. And then all of a sudden, when they start to make decisions and they start to fail, you as a parent, you come hard on them. Like, like, how dare you make this stupid decision? But hold on a second, but you never allowed me to make any decision throughout my whole entire life. But now you expect me to be this perfect individual. And this is my first time doing it. So, and it was an interesting discussion. And all of a sudden, like, you start to see all of them just like, I think majority of them looking at me like I was just crazy. And they said, you know what? We want you to do more of these. I was like, sure, no problem. I'll do more of these. No worries. But so how is that? It's the ability, with parents in specific, have the dialogue, start the conversation, build that relationship, get to know your parents, and allow your parents to get to know you. I did a workshop earlier today, and I talked to parents about again, when is the last time you went on a date with your kid? Same thing goes to us right now. When is the last time you took your mom on a date? When is the last time you took your dad on a date? Take them out to a coffee shop and talk about things that you enjoy. Get to know them and ask about their expertise and the thing they went through, and their likes and dislikes and needs and wants, and let them know about your needs and wants. Because once you establish that relationship, your parents will come on board. And once you have your parents on board, everyone else, it's just evaluation and choices, to be honest with you.
Wow, so
Brian, my neck's hurting from just nodding.
Yeah, just nodding, right?
Yeah, so, bro, I literally I thought I've got like
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, thanks, bro. That was so good.
That is, yeah, mashallah, amazing. So much insight in there. And the other thing as well is like, and I'm going to make sure this time there's a question in there, not just a reflection, but you're talking about making a decision, kind of similar to the whole like, just go and do it, right? And I think what we forget is that actually indecision is a decision. So deciding that I'm not going to make this decision right now is a decision. And I think often, and like, I'll find myself in those situations where I'm like, it's too difficult to or I don't have, sometimes they talk about you can have decision-making fatigue, right? If you've made 17 different choices that day, and then one specific one that has, a bigger weight to it, you just go, I'll kick it down the road. But actually, and this is the question, like when is the best time to make a decision? I guess we can't make every decision now. That would just be impossible. But, there are some decisions which I think they are things that stop you from progressing. So are those the things that you should, you should make, or do you generally think, I think I know your answer. I don't want to answer for you, but are you going to ask why you are kicking it down the road? And then when you figure out that why, you can then answer when you should make that decision.
100%. That's it. We have about 60,000 thoughts that actually cross our minds on a daily basis. Just think about that. So, some of it is that we deal with, consciously, and, like just getting up, like to say, go like just a normal day. You wake up, you go in, you shower, you brush your teeth, you drink your coffee, you get in your car, you get to work, you do your things, you sit in your desk, you start to work on things, and then you get off work, you go hang out with your friends, play basketball, you come back home, eat dinner, watch some TV, and go to bed. literally, you know, so within that whole just thought process, there's 60,000 thoughts that cross your mind. Some of it is subconsciously where you just go on an autopilot and we do things. And that's why a lot of times while you're driving, you get home and you're like, how did I get home? Like, literally, how did I get home? Like, today, like, hold on, I didn't kill anyone, like traffic. And that's the decision that we're making to make us. And then there's the conscious decisions. Like you mentioned, Muhammad, sometimes we avoid certain questionnaire. And that's why it's like, for me, having this is critical. So for me, like, I want to make these decisions today. And then and then the day go by and then I didn't highlight it. And then the next day, oh, I'm gonna do this one first. And then I don't do it. The third day, literally, I'm sitting down saying, why? What's going on here? What's the fear behind me making that one call? What's happening? Like, literally, and I will sit back to reflect with myself and write things down. And it's like, well, if I reach out to this person, what if he doesn't or she doesn't respond? And the answer will be like, okay, well, what if they respond? And then it's like, so you start to re-ask the same question, just asking the same question differently, and you'll start to get some different responses. So that's the way to go with this. You know, how do you just have these priorities? For you, I think it's, you know, for me, I write them down and I try to cross them out as the day goes through. If I avoid it once, twice, 3 times, my third day, that's when I actually sit down and try to reflect back and say, why? Why am I avoiding this? Literally, you know, if I know I have to go to the gym today and I missed it, then the next day I missed it. The third day is like, okay, what's going on here? Why am I tripping? Why am I dodging the gym? Is it's too hard? Is it like just, you know, like I'm, you know, and that's why I meant earlier about having these 6 different areas and start to do things slowly in each and every area, because that way you can't just pick one or the other. It's all of it. That's not just working out your right arm every single day. That's working out your whole entire body every day. You're not going to see results right away, but I promise you a year from now, very balanced in every aspect of it. You'll nourish your relationship. You'll do well with yourself. You know, your career, your path, that'll be great. Your money management will be amazing. You know, your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be awesome. Subconsciously and mentally, you're very strong. And that's what I mean about that. Like, it's just prioritizing these decisions. And if you miss it, day 1, day 2, day 3, start to question why you dodging it. There's a fear there. Yeah. So you're trying to find out what type of fear is it.
Yeah. Wow, that's really powerful and really great advice. And even you kind of, you sort of touched on the kind of like on day 3, that's it. You got to ask yourself what are you avoiding? But I also really like the fact that and obviously this was the thing that you told us a lot earlier, but you know, you've got these 6 areas and it's very much a conscious decision as to what you are progressing in your life. I think that's actually, and maybe I want to say this is the key takeaway from today, but actually, like, we forget that on a day-to-day basis, if we are not consciously in check with what it is that our goals are, what it is our priorities are, we're just like blowing with the wind. We're literally blowing with the wind. Like, and you can just, you know, a day goes by, a week goes by, a month goes by, and you have no idea really what you've achieved or your progress. And so I think, you know, for the huge takeaway for me is, and I've got them somewhere scribbled around in my head, but they're not on paper. It's not, here are the 6 most important things to me, and here's how I'm going to achieve them. And then on a day-to-day basis, you know, blocking out the time that I have for my work and for my personal you know, things, and then saying these are the things I'm going to achieve today. And as well, I presume, you know, like if any of us wrote down a comprehensive or a to-do, it would just go on for this. It would just be like, you just have pages, right? So it's like, just focus on 3 to 5 things today that you're going to do that go towards your goals and tick them off. That will, like you said, that will build up that, you know, that confidence in your ability to get things done. The next day, another 3 to 5, tick them off, and just keep rolling. And so you'll find yourself so far ahead of where you were.
100%. Mohammed, let me just maybe check one thing out. Like, I think that's going to help a lot of people that are watching right now. That how do we set up goals, right? I mean, that's one of those interesting things. A lot of people is like, well, I'm trying, I'm doing all these different things, but how do we like effectively set up goals that's going to help us put us in a position? I'm going to use money in a way because money is tangible and people can relate to it, right? So one of the questions that I probably ask, you know, like I ask my clients that question all the time. Okay, how much money do you want to make this year? And then they look at me like I was crazy. No, literally, how much money do you want to make this year? And like, well, no, let's not get into your head. Just answer that question. So they will give me a number. Let's say someone say to me, I want to make $100,000 today, right? Like this year. So right away, I just pull a calculator. I put $100,000. Right away, I ask that person, let's divide $100,000 by 52, which is how many weeks that we have a year. So that brings in about $1,923 a week. Then the $1 million question, how many hours a week would you like to work? And then they'll look back and say, well, look at my calendar, look at my planner, I have these 6 different areas. I'm spending time with all these people. I can fit in, let's say 35 hours a week. That's work. Beautiful. That goes into that career. We'll divide that number by 35 hours a week. And that brings in about, give me 1 second, $100,000 divided by 52, and then divide that by 35 hours. So that gives us about $54 an hour. So right away, I tell people, if you work at this point, what you're working on doesn't generate let's say $54 an hour, then $55 an hour, you're wasting time and wasting money. That's from a tangible standpoint. So that's how you set those goals. So every day you work, every hour, you want to get that $55, and then do it again, and then do it again, and then do it again. By the end of the week, you made you $1,900. You do it again 52 weeks a year. That's your $100,000. You made it. Same thing with every aspect of your life. You want to create a goal. Let's say you want to lose weight. I mean, my first question, how much weight do you want to lose? Oh, I want to lose 40 pounds. Perfect. 40 pounds, divide that by 52 weeks. Divide that. So at some point, you need to lose roughly about almost 0.8 pounds a week. Divide that by days. Literally, you have to lose that many. So instead of focusing on that 50 pounds you want to lose a year, just focus on that 1
baby
pound
steps
a week, and crush that, and do it again, and do it again, and do it again. By the end of the year, you already crushed your goals. So that's in everything. I want to do my prayers. I want to khatam al-Quran, once, like 10 times this year. Perfect. Divide how many pages per the Quran, divided by 10 times by, how many days a year, and break down how many, and all you got to focus on that small specific goal. And that thing will help tremendously when we set up goals, like start with the big goal, chunk that up into smaller ones, and then start to evaluate. So to go to answer that question about hanging out with these negative people, literally, if you're having a conversation and this person doesn't add a $55 worth of value into your life, they need to get going.
Snip. Snip.
Quick. Decisions quick then.
So that's hopefully something just to help, like thinking about goals.
That's amazing.
Like that.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Beautiful.
Wow.
I like that you make it tangible too.
Abdelwahab, what you were saying, it just reminds me of this book I read by Mark Manson, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F. And I think the takeaway I got from that book, as I've got from this conversation in general, is that you have to prioritize things, right? So your kind of 6 values or 6 principles alongside your journal is your compass. It's the thing that keeps you in check, and it's how you see the world and prioritize the world around you.
That's it. Everywhere I go, man, brother, like if I can tell you, I go to my parents' house, I'm having my book with me. I go to pray. I think I went to a wedding one time. I had my book with me, and my wife wanted to tell me, what you doing here? I'm like, bro, like, listen, I'm in this meeting. I'm in this wedding. There's opportunities. You're going to meet somebody. I mean, having a conversation. You want to spike something. I want to make sure that I fit them in right. Just like, you're out of control, man. But that just what it is.
Mashallah, that's a beautiful trait.
That's amazing, man. That's amazing.
That's beautiful.
Mashallah, we've had, I mean, wow, I've learned so much from you, mashallah, and thank you so much for joining. I'm gonna do my very best to try and wrap up, or give a quick summary of some of the conversation, some of the highlights, and then we will give a quick just information and teaser for the next ones, which definitely aren't to be missed. So we started off talking about the people around us and sort of how they can affect and motivate us. And I really like this quote: "Proximity is power." So the proximity you give to the people around you in your life, they have power, and you have power as well in theirs. So how do you ensure that what you want to do is you want to make sure that those people you are adding value to their lives and they're adding value to yours. So having a genuine relationship with those people. And then we kind of started sharing sort of similar stories as to who inspired us, and we kind of got into talking about vision and kind of this discussion on, I guess, the three parts: the vision, the process, and the motivation. So I think with the vision, you know, do not be afraid to dream as big as you want. Do the things, you know, constantly ask why it is you're doing those things, in terms of you know, what is your motivation. And the process, just try your best to break it down into small achievable tasks. You know, every big task is a subset of small achievable tasks, and get started as soon as you can, so that your mind doesn't to, you know, trick you into thinking it's unachievable. And then, you know, I loved what you said, and it, you know, resonated massively in terms of investing in yourself. You know, I think there's a quote by Bill Gates that says, if you're not investing 5 hours a week into learning, then, you know, you're losing. You're basically, you know, what are you doing essentially? So, and those hours for, you know, if we're not working in our, I guess, our chosen desired field, in the outside hours, really try and have a focus on you know, what your goals are for those hours, especially because they're going to be less. So, and make a concerted effort to write down those goals on a day-to-day basis, and to, you know, really break them down. And I think, you know, Abdelwahab, you consistently told us to try and pursue something that we love doing. And this comes back to the risk, doesn't it? You know, we've been told that we can't achieve the things that we want to achieve, you know, in some ways. And I think we really just need to break those down. We need to break those down and really believe that we can do it. And that is how you will end up doing something that you love doing, because you are taking that risk and you are consistently learning. And so, you know, listen to yourself, and even when you are unsure of the vision and the dream, and if it's going to happen, you know, tie up your camel and pray and believe in Allah's, you know, sort of journey for you. Don't get stuck on the how. I really like that. Don't get stuck on the how. You know, your why is enough. The journey is enough. And like we said, don't focus on that end goal, but the vision is there, but just, you know, just work. And that same instance, I guess, don't think about, like, nothing, you know, Rome wasn't created in a day. So you do little things every day. Incremental improvement is actually how you make a big change. And then start, you know, practicing ways to control your mind. Start practicing ways to be disciplined on a day-to-day basis. You know, you can't tell me that you have all these dreams and then, you know, you're unable to put your self-love first, to make sure that you're getting the right amount of sleep, to make sure that you're getting the right nutrition, to make sure that, you know, you're getting exercise every day. Do the things that scare you. This is, you know, this is a great piece of advice, you know, for all of us who are trying to find our what is it that makes me, you know, do something that completely terrifies you, and just keep doing it, keep learning, you know. And you know, if I'm learning, then I'm winning. If I'm losing, then I'm winning, as G. Saleh says. So you know, keep trying different things. Don't be worried about timeline in terms of you know, just if you're doing those things and if you're learning and you're sticking to your journal, and that's it, you're doing amazing. Get a notebook right now. Find whatever notebook you can in the house. Doesn't matter if it's lined, squared, blank. Just get that notebook and start writing every single day. And start, you know, what are the 6 things that you want to spend time on daily? You know, not weekly, not monthly, daily. What are those 6 things? And make sure you're scheduling time for them. Break them down into those small chunks. And if you start to find yourself not making decisions, then on those things that you're supposed to be doing daily, by the third day, you really have to start asking yourself, why are you not doing that? Why have you not made a decision on that yet? And that will help you to break that down and to go for it. And then, yeah, people around you, again, very important. Don't, if they are starting to have a negative influence on your ability to change the way you want to, then, you know, be decisive in how you allow them to affect your life, which is, you know, it's difficult. It's very difficult. And then, yeah, you know, go on take your dad out to coffee, take your parents out to coffee. You know, we have to be active about the things that we really want to achieve. And how do you set up your goals? You know, try to break them down, whether it's how much you want to, you know, how much you want to have sold here, or how many, you know, podcasts you want to put out this year or whatever. Break that down, and you will know if, you know, if I'm supposed to release X number of, you know, if I'm supposed to release a book this year, then how many chapters am I supposed to write, or how many pages am I supposed to write? So just break that down. And yeah, that brings us to the end of my summary. Sorry, I, you know, took longer than expected. And I'll just kindly ask if you guys have any, you know, 1 minute additions or reflections to add, then we'll go for that. And then we'll just round up with what is to come in the next 2 days.
First of all, Muhammad Jahfar, I just wanted to say, like, amazing summary, all on the spot. Like, really, yani, mashallah, like, you really covered everything that we talked about. That was fantastic. And I'm looking, as we're talking, I'm looking at the YouTube live and I'm seeing, mashallah, people have so many questions, Abdelwahab. You made them think, you made them ponder, and like, and they're chatting, they're talking to one another about these different concepts. So that just shows like the impact is happening, it's being done right now. And I want to encourage y'all to continue in this conversation, inshallah, on Thursday with Instagram Live. So save those questions. We're going to do just a Q&A session with Abdelwahab to answer all those questions. I don't have any points of reflection because I think, MG, you covered it. MashaAllah.
Thank you.
Yeah, Moji, I definitely, like, I was taking notes while Abdelwahab was, you know, dropping these gems on us. But you definitely, anything that I missed out, you definitely put into perspective. So I got a long to-do list from now till the end of the week and the weekend to start the, you know, the week fresh with the journal, with the set of goals, you know, and it's just like my takeaway from this conversation was just spectacular. You know, I can't put it into words. So thank you, Abdelwahab. Thank you, Moji, Mandoor, Tabarak. You know, as usual, very, very inspirational.
I mean, man, Moji, bro, you summarized that so amazing as well. Yeah, you put everything into perspective. Abdelwahab, that was such an inspiring discussion. It was incredible just learning about your thought processes, bro, and like how you've managed to put that into actually achieving tangible results. So, so really looking forward to the next coming sessions. I think you're going to give us a bit of a teaser as to what they are exactly. And yeah, it's been an honor to be on this panel with everyone. Ihab, Tabarak, Moji, all of you guys.
Yeah, it was great. Awesome. Could we give him a drum roll before we're about to go?
All right. No. Give him a little dash. A little dash.
A little dash.
A little dash.
little dash.
It's definitely a pleasure, guys. Thank you so much for you know, for having me in actually part of this. I'm very, very excited. I think this is exciting and I'm very humble, to be honest with you, to sit with you guys and learn from you as much as I'm able to give a little bit and get a lot from you guys. So truly appreciate that. I think that the summary. So one thing that I wanted just to mention, there was a quote that I also read few years ago. It says, "Nothing changes if nothing changes," and it's an interesting one, you know. So you know, we got to commitment. We got to jump in and we got to start do. This week, I think I'm humbled to be part of this journey. I think we got to be talking relationships throughout. I think for the next 4 days or so. You know, we got to break it down into, as I mentioned earlier, relationship with self, relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, relationship with significant others, how to, you know, our relationship with our self going to affect finding that partner and that Sharik Hayatna, if you want to think about it that way. And then inshallah Thursday, we're going to get back together and do some Q&As. So one thing that I spoke with Tabarak about as far as just doing a few things every day, just as a reminders to each one of you as far as that specific topic. So we're going to, pitch that in on a daily basis. I'm going to push that in my IG, and I'm, love the team to do the same thing. Your feedback is critical. I think if you guys have specific areas, we'll definitely make sure that we incorporate it all in the workshop that we'll be doing, inshallah.
Fantastic.
That's great.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you.
exciting.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm excited for the next sessions. Thank you to the amazing panelists. Thank you once again, Abdelwahab. I hope that we were able to give you back at least $55 in value.
Mine is way more, brother.
I'm set by 4.
I know. I said at least. I said at least.
And I think you guys said it. I think it's, and that's what I mean about proximity. To be honest with you, it's a lot of times when we create things like this and networks like this, and I was talking to Mandur earlier. It's not about just that the person who presented. I think it's about the thoughtful questionnaire and the thought process and following through and picking things from a different perspective. I think that's how we all improve, and that's how we all grow. So I'm humble, and thank you so much, you guys, for allowing me to be sitting with such individuals. I mean, I'm a fan of a lot of you guys for years. I mean, and I've been following a lot of you guys for years, and and I got to get to meet a few of you guys. I think past couple of weeks or so, but I'm very, very, very excited about the opportunity, and inshallah be able to and so I'm not going to be able to give you just as much as I can learn from you guys, but truly appreciate it though.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
The honors is ours.
Definitely very humbled.
Thank you so much.
Honors ours, man.
And,
Thank you so much.
One last time, you guys, and then we'll dash out of the camera.
Yeah.
I love this.
Yeah.
And a final shout out to Tertil and Tabarak, because they've been telling all of the SDN lot to journal for as long as I've known them. So now they're going to be like, yep, now these guys talk.
We told you.
Yeah, that's it. We told you.
Alas, yeah, Helwin. Thank you so much, and until the next one.
Yeah, definitely looking forward for the next one.
You got it. Thank you so much. Salam.
All right.